Let's move on to your tip of the week, Eric. We are both longtime CompTIA members, longtime ChannelCon attendees. I'm going to say, I haven't actually gotten this from CompTIA. I'm going to say this is the biggest ChannelCon they've ever done. It's kind of an enormous event. There are 174 vendors in the expo hall, which is an enormous number. And it kind of segues us into your tip of the week in terms of what those vendors need to do to earn an MSP's trust.
Yes, Rich. During Carolyn April's power panel this morning, we had some, leaders from different vendors come up and just kind of went through, some of what they are doing to shift and earn the trust and maintain the trust and loyalty of their partner channels. But one statistic that Carolyn shared really kind of, I think it raised a lot of eyebrows in the room. It raised my eyebrows. And this is something that, Rich, I would have felt was really accurate and relevant, 15, 20 years ago when I was still an IT provider. And the stat was, but I was surprised to hear that, recent research has revealed this to be true now, or how respondents have responded. And so the stat that Carolyn shared was that 36% of MSPs don't trust that their vendors won't sell directly to their customers. I thought that number was high.
Yeah.
I feel like we've evolved beyond like the dark days, the dark ages of, this, we get a quote for some product from a vendor, and then the next thing we know, they reached out to that customer directly and given them a price that even our discount levels, we couldn't even match it, and not even on a break even. So it was very interesting. And as the panel continued, Carolyn shared this, and the panel, had some ideas about, well, how do we overcome that? And I think the biggest takeaways for me aren't revelatory in any way, but it's doing right by your partners, right? You've got to earn that trust and confidence, and, adjust your partner programs so that the partners feel like you have their best interest in mind. And we've talked about this before on the show, Rich. I mean, you've got to understand what the day-to-day of an MSP is, what's important to them, what's important to their end customers, what's important to their staff, how do they make decisions, and then what do they value? And we just segued from your news story of the week is, how do you help me become better in my business, right? We've evolved from just leveraging vendor relationships, from just getting what I need when I need it, to really these vendors moving toward, we're now delivering, we're not just, product centric now, we're delivering services from you. We can white label these services to help you in your business. We now have training and education, right? And it goes beyond some of the table stakes that we figure every vendor has to have to earn our trust and loyalty. Like, okay, a tiered partner program where I get more benefits, the more I transact with you. I can get some MDF, I can protect my deals, deal reg and things like that. Maybe I get some spiffs once in a while. At some point, those are just like the basic table stakes, but now it's like, how can you help me in my business beyond these things, the things that we were just talking about? So, and I think the other thing that came from this panel discussion, Rich, that I took away was MSPs also have to do their own research and engagement with their vendor partners, and not listen to what somebody might be spewing on, fill in the blank social media, right? And sometimes that just kind of skews the whole conversation. And we know that, it can get it can get really nasty sometimes in some of these platforms. But do your own research, kind of look at the vendors that you're partnered with, build those true relationships, establish trust, contact partners that you trust directly and ask them, hey, who are you using? Are you finding this? And, stay off of the social media, attend these vendor events, ask questions of the leadership, and then once you're in, then partner together so that you can overcome this trust confidence issue.
You know what's kind of interesting and scary about that 36% statistic that you cited there is I guarantee you nowhere close to 36% of MSPs out there have had one of their vendors take business direct. I just don't, like you were saying, I don't think it happens very often anymore. And so what's scary about that is about a third of MSPs out there, even when the vendors tell them we don't do that, about a third of MSPs don't believe.
Yeah.
And so it just gets the words earn and trust get thrown around together a lot, but that's for good reason. Trust is something that must be earned. And as you were saying, it's something that the vendors in particular have to earn with respect to their MSPs, and they have to do it by doing, not saying. And so it's how you do business. It's the resources that you offer. It is the consistency. When you make a promise, do you keep it or not? If you do, that's going to help you earn trust. And if you do earn an MSP's trust, you can almost get on the flip side of that equation where you can actually tell an MSP, we do go direct, but only when we're selling to businesses with 10,000 or more employees or something like that. Like we're never going to compete with. And if you've earned an MSP's trust, they're going to be okay with that because they believe what you say when you say it. And so, yeah, absolutely. What that statistic means for vendors is you need to be aware of the fact that there are a lot of skeptical MSPs out there. You need to be working every day diligently to earn their trust. And the scary thing about earning trust is it takes a long time to do. It takes an instant to lose trust. You make one mistake and you got to start all the way back at square one again. So get to work, earn that trust, keep that trust. So that this sort of issue about am I competing with my vendor isn't an issue for you.
And when you're doing that properly, you'll build a groundswell of partners that will provide you testimonials and case studies and be on your panels and on your webinars and things like that so that you can use that to kind of, overcome this sentiment that may not be based in, real reality in some cases.